So we represent Rulink. Who here's heard of Rulink? Okay, well, people who are part of Rulink, put your hands out. Who here's heard of Rulink that's not part of Rulink? Okay, I don't know your name, but I think I've seen you before. Yeah, you look like a hardworking person. What is Rulink?
Where people are able to like make businesses and then like pitch them and get connections to like doctors that will help them like make connections and like build their business or idea or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think of ourselves more like a innovations organization, but you know, in innovation, for better or for worse, it takes lots and lots of capital to put in innovation and commercialize it. So patients could use it. So serendipitously, when you do innovation, you end up doing business, and so that's what RuleLink sort of stands for. We drive the innovative spirit you guys have, and you guys do. I know each and one of you probably wake up with grandiose ideas about life in the world. And then we take that and we try to help you commercialize it so that it can actually affect patients. In that, we haven't really had like a lecture, an event like this, because me and Zubin's like my better half. We've been so busy just sort of getting the smaller group going so that people can pitch and get their ideas alive. And so then only recently we were like, we should probably have an event series called the RuLink Lecture Series or whatever, so that people who like maybe peripheral interested in innovation and entrepreneurship have a space to learn about it. But mostly also because we have like tons of money through the OSI, we gotta spend it, you know what I mean? So that's why this series was born. In that advent, Dr. Norbash, who's our dean, he's very excited about this series. We're going to bring in some great lecturers. The next person who's going to come, his name is Dr. Hagi. He's like the director of HEMONC at Newport Beach Family Cancer Medical Center. So there's a lot of interesting people coming, people who speak to you about innovation so you can explore it. But this is all recorded too. So it's like just a preface, this is recorded so that in perpetuity, students who are interested in innovation can watch this. And there's like a repository of lectures on different topics, but also that if you're ever interested and want to remind yourself of what you learned today, you can go back and learn it again. So it's being recorded. It's going to be called the Library of Leaders. It's a really cool name. That's a good segue to Joanne. Joanne's my sister, but she's also very, very profoundly accomplished. So she went to Duke right out of high school, and there she started as pre-med. But like most pre-meds, she decided that she wanted to impact health in a different way. Because as you know, medical people, we get so lost in trying to treat, we forget about cures and systematic reasons for health. There, she published this really interesting paper as her undergraduate thesis about AI and healthcare. And it was one of the first few, this was before ChatGPT and LLMs and all the AI breakout. And it made such waves that I'm pretty sure it's core curriculum now at most of the top 20 law schools in the US. So it's a really interesting paper. If you guys ever want to read it, you could probably look it up. After that, she went to McKinsey. You guys know, who knows what McKinsey is? I don't even know. I didn't know what McKinsey. Okay, yeah, so Saman, you wanted to go ahead.
Most I know about McKinsey is that it's a very prominent business school.
Business school? Okay, school is a good way to treat work. It's a consulting firm. Where about like top 1% of U.S. Graduates go after, and she made lots of money, but she didn't give any of it to me, so bad start. So she went to McKinsey. There she really siloed herself in sort of healthcare, AI, and the infrastructure between. So after about 2 years post McKinsey, she decided she wanted to go to graduate school. She's getting her MHA from Dartmouth, but at the same time she's working for Vega Health. So this is a startup started by a medicinist over at Duke Health System, who decided he also wanted to solve AI and medicine, but specifically the friction that comes between actually having algorithms and then implementing it in a real way. Let us also say Joanne's very accomplished. She's done like great and crazy things, worked with like top executives in the US, and so I thought there was no one better to, also sort of like a rush timeline, so there's no one better to give this first lecture than Joanne. I hope you guys enjoy. That's it.
Wow, thank you for such an extensive. Awesome. Well, it's super nice to meet everyone. It's obviously a smaller group, so I'm really excited to hopefully get to know you guys more individually. But putting that very grandiose introduction aside, I'm really just someone who's here who really cares about making progress in healthcare and really making an impact in tangible ways. So today, Samuel asked me to talk about growth strategies, which to me means absolutely nothing in like the term context. But I think when we're gonna, in our time together, I'll try to break it down into at least how we think about it at Vega Health, and I'll also introduce sort of my workplace, and then hopefully we'll dive into some activities together. I don't know if this clicker works. Oh, amazing. Okay, so this is kind of typically how entrepreneurs describe themselves, which is like a firefighter. It's anywhere from thinking about, oh my God, like contracting red lines, we have to close this contract with a customer, to, oh my goodness, we actually have to pay taxes as a corporation, to, oh my goodness, we should probably actually meet with our customers to figure out what they want. And this is how I describe my job actually at Vega Health, which is I am a firefighter by day and by night because I really care about solving complex problems, but I also think in a sort of ironic way, it's the place where you learn the most, is where the fire is at. So I'm really excited to be in a room full of blooming entrepreneurs, and I'm really excited to dive into this with you. But all this to say, my official role at Vega Health is I'm the Director of Business Operations. Right now, that kind of means that I'm running internal operations, which is HR, finance, legal, all the way through contracting negotiations, and then finally customer implementation and technology deployment. So the whole gambit of the universe in the ops world is what I'm running. And then obviously, if you'd like to learn more about Vega Health, there's a QR code to our website. My feelings will not be hurt if you spend some time looking at that during this presentation. But I also want to just say, like, Samuel gave a very amazing introduction. But more importantly, I was actually raised most of my childhood in Missouri. It's a state that I care a lot about, and specifically, I think Kansas City, Joplin, Springfield, these are areas in which a lot of my childhood was spent. And so to me, it's actually so inspiring to see a group of students who are chasing innovation, trying to make innovation work in a relatively, I would say, innovation desert in the United States. So that, and also I'm obviously a huge dog person and spend most of my free time with my dogs if I am here. So yeah, amazing. So to introduce Vega Health, as Samuel alluded to the fact, we are a health AI company in summary, but really we do a lot more than that, and we are founded on a decade of extensive research, extensive implementation, and extensive experimentation at Duke Health. Our CEO and co-founder, Mark Sendak, is a physician by training who saw that there's so much opportunity to bring technology into the healthcare space, but it's never done well enough for it to actually be adopted at scale or for it to have the impact that we want to have on our patients and communities. And so he took all the knowledge from Duke Health and in sort of a controversial way, because I know health systems typically like to keep things in-house, he said, I'm going to go spin out this startup that's going to go do this for everybody else. So that impact sort of translated into a set of problem statements that our company sat down and thought through. The first thing is, in the current health AI market specifically, which I'm sure some of you who are in medicine may have experienced yourself, there's a lot of fragmented solutions in use every day. There's a lack of market transparency, so a lot of people don't know what they're buying and building. There's a lot of change fatigue, so I don't know if our physicians in training in the room have felt this, but Epic, Oracle, AI solution this, AI solution that, we've just realized that a lot of people really struggle with this change fatigue. There's also a lot of vendor lock-ins, so once you implement an enterprise technology, it's really hard to get out of it, even if the technology continues to not serve the purpose that you wanted it to. And then finally, and I think most importantly, which is probably of most interest to this group, is that this culture of fragmentation and vendor lock-in and skepticism and lack of transparency ultimately actually slows innovation at the health system level. And for us as a company, the ethos of what we're building is we want to make sure that the people who are closest to the care, who are actually seeing the patient, who are actually seeing their fellow staff members go through these workflows, be the ones to build the technology that we distribute. And so that's a big part of actually how we think about our solution. This has changed already in the past 24 hours and how we message ourselves to the public. But in essence, we're an end-to-end solution. We're building operating systems for health systems that actually scale with their AI strategy, but more importantly, their innovation strategy. So right now, all the hype is about Gen AI, agents, workflows, but 5 years from now, I'm sure it will be a different kind of innovation that we are all obsessed with. And so at the crux of it, what we care about is, can we solve your problem and can we use innovation to do that? So as part of our basic implementation, we actually install a platform, which is our AI infrastructure that helps automate data curation, data management at the health system level. And then from there, that sort of propels health systems forward to, really power their internal innovation capabilities, scale technology, even third-party solutions from the outside in to make sure that they work for them. And there's actually this concept that has recently been taking over the literature, which is post-implementation monitoring. A lot of times, a lot of vendors will bring in technology, they'll install it, they'll get out. But how do you know it's actually working for you still? Like, let's say it's 3 years down the line and I don't know, Samuel Kim AI is implemented as a physician agent. How do we actually know it's still working? And so we are actually building an enterprise observability layer so that as your innovation scales, you can say at the administrative level, at the clinician level, like, are these actually serving my patients? Are these actually serving the populations we care about? Finally, we're building AI fabs with different health systems. So the concept of the AI fab is actually to say, great, like you have the infrastructure, you have this marketplace of solutions you can buy from and build from, you have an implementation partner who's gonna come with you to make sure everything is adopted and scaled. Now you're able to sort of figure out what's working and what's not working in real time. Now we wanna actually equip you to be the innovator yourself. And so we are working with various health systems to think through, like, how can we leverage your data science teams? How can you leverage the clinicians who are on the ground to essentially accelerate innovation through the use of AI fab? So that's a little bit about what we do. If you're interested in learning more, please let me know. We're always looking for ways to engage students, but more importantly, like, this is truly the microcosm of people that I think we want to work with in the future. So yeah. Okay. Putting Vega Health aside, today I was tasked with the assignment of talking about growth strategies. Again, I don't really know what that means, but this is how we interpret it at Vega Health. For me, growth is actually an equation. It's 1 part culture and 2 parts strategy, and both are equally important. And so, like any good equation, we're gonna dive into each of the variables, and I will try to make it as tactical as possible for you so that you can take it back to your own teams. So we're gonna start with culture. There's this amazing theory in the world of business called the cultural iceberg model. It's actually implemented across multiple corporations. It's actually the bread and butter of what McKinsey brings to our clients when we work with, like, CEOs and C-suite executives. And what the theory behind this is that most people focus on all the stuff that you see and observe across your teams and your organization that is above the waterline. But in reality, that actually only makes up 10% of your culture and what you're delivering. The rest of the 90%, which is all the sort of mixed relationships that you have, the things that you care about, that's actually what drives your growth, and that's actually what drives your culture. And so to really determine then what is this 90% of the culture that lies below the waterline, we have to start thinking about it from a broader context of culture, but also organizational health. And a lot of people, when I give this this sort of rundown, get really like, oh, Joanne, this is so warm and fuzzy, like culture, haha, like I'm sure we like each other. But actually, there's a business case for this. What most of the literature finds is that if you focus on organizational health from day one of your company, those that actually do this are outperforming peers. They are actually selling better. And more importantly, your teams are happier. And who doesn't want that kind of world? And so, again, this is why this matters. This is why I think it's really important. And the first step to that is thinking through your mission, vision, and values. Again, I know it can feel super warm and fuzzy, but when you bring all these 3 things together, it actually provides a lot of strategic clarity. And more importantly, this is your compass for how you get through roadblocks, for how you get through ethical concerns, for how you mitigate team tension. And it's truly already played out at Vega Health. For more context, we actually left stealth mode last September or October, so about 6-7 months ago. We've already scaled to 2 customers enterprise-wide. We have a team of 12. We have started to secure relationships and partnerships with developers on the other side of the marketplace. And all of that, I think, was actually truly only possible because this is what we did in our first week as a leadership team. So let's focus on each element. Mission is really your why. Why do you exist? Why are you here? Vision is what is the future that you want to see happen, right? And then finally, your values is the how, which is how are you going to navigate, execute, operationalize everything that you believe in as a company. So I'm just going to ask a question to the crowd. Which of these feel the most important to you and why? Any thoughts? Yes?
I think that vision is the most important because
if you know what you're aiming for, then you can work around for mission and values. They can both grow as you're going down that path. So having what your end goal is and having everyone agree on that being the end goal can lead to the growth of the other two fields.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's an excellent answer. Any other competing theories? Everyone thinks that vision is the most important. Okay. Oh, Brandon?
I think mission is important out of these three, not specifically for growth, but just because I think mission is kind of the foundation of an entire organization. So if problems do occur, like vision and values, in my opinion, don't matter as much. It's always the mission. If you stray away from like a specific target too with the vision, you always relate back to the mission of why you're doing things.
That's an excellent answer too. Yes.
I would say values are maybe also one of the most important because that's probably what you're dealing with day to day with how you're doing things.
Yeah. So that's kind of a trick question because they're all equally important. But as you saw in the room, everyone has a perspective on where they will lean into as part of their compass. But all those three things coming together is really what brings a team together. I am going to sort of lean into what Brandon was talking about today specifically though, and talk about mission, because mission is sort of where you start, vision is sort of how you plan forward, and then as you said, values is how you operationalize all of that together day to day. So we actually just had a leadership team retrospective, our quarterly retro, where we reflected on our mission, vision, values together. As part of that exercise, we talked about our mission, we talked about our vision, and then we said, okay, team, how hard is it to live out these values? How easy is it? And why is it easy or why is it hard? And I actually do recommend doing that as a team, even if you're not like a real company yet. You're on the path, right? And so it's really healthy to just check in with yourself and ask yourself, are we living our mission? Are we heading towards our vision? And how are we operationalizing it with our values every day? For us, our mission is actually to be the objective, trusted partner equipping health systems everywhere as they scale AI solutions that improve care and operational outcomes. But our vision is actually more focused on innovation. So it's sort of that tension I was describing earlier of like, today we're focused on solving your AI problems, but tomorrow we're actually more focused on making sure you can innovate. And then for values, once again, these are sort of the set of values that we came up with as a team together, but we're consistently and constantly iterating on them as a team to make sure that we're bringing the best of ourselves to the team, but also the best of ourselves to our clients. So I actually have another exercise. So these are 3 mission statements across organizations that this room should hopefully be familiar with, I hope. And I'm just gonna ask, like, throw a guess. Which organization has this mission of to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world? Any guesses?
Nike.
Amazing, I don't know who said that. Great job. Amazing. Good. Okay, what about this one? To be the premier purveyor of the finest coffee in the world, inspiring and nurturing the human spirit, one person, one cup, in one neighborhood at a time. What a mission.
Starbucks.
Oh my gosh, this room is so well educated. Okay, finally, this one you can't get wrong. We educate and support professionals by promoting and teaching science, compassion, and service to meet the healthcare needs of Missouri and the nation.
UMKC.
Oh my God, yay. Amazing. Yes. So that exercise was to just depict an illustration of how important your mission is. Actually, you guessed the company based on the mission, right? That's pretty incredible. I didn't even have to say the words Nike, Starbucks, or UMKC School of Medicine, you just knew. So that is to say, this is why mission is extremely important. It points your people towards a common North Star, but it points your customers towards a common North Star as well. Okay, enough about culture, all the warm and fuzzy, let's put that aside for a second. It is indeed the first step, though, towards your strategy. So I'm part of an MHA program, and when I first went to this MHA program, we had a class on strategic planning, and I was like, oh, please, like, that's gonna be so easy. Like, that just means you have really excellent planning, right? No, I was totally wrong. Strategy is actually built on experimentation, and it's guided by the North Star that you just created in terms of your mission, vision, and values. And Toyota is actually a super great case study. If you guys haven't read about Toyota's philosophy and innovation, you totally should. But essentially, there's this Kaizen model, which says that everything is based on continuous learning, failing fast, and essentially pivoting in a timely manner. And the basis of this is that you should always be experimenting. I mean, you're an entrepreneur, right? You're an innovator. Like, that's the whole point, right? And so a good strategy is actually built not on, wow, step 2, step 3, step 4, but it's actually, okay, we went to step 1. We don't like step 2, so we're gonna go to step 1A. We don't like step 1A, so we're gonna go back to step 2, and we continuously iterate together until you figure out that something that works for you, right? So I actually wanted to spend some time on this exercise. Your demographic is myself. You are now the product strategist at Owala. I love Owalas, by the way. And I want us to get into like pairs, and in pairs, I just want you to reflect on these 3 questions. Who's your target buyer, and what is the primary pain point I'm trying to solve today? 2, what solution are you actually selling? And 3, what is the sales experiment you're gonna run on me? Okay, what time is it?
5:54.
Okay, just like 3 minutes. If you could get into pairs and the person sitting next to you and just talk through this, and then I'll call in some folks. Okay, did everyone come up with the best sales experiment in the world in this room? Okay, I'm gonna call in a few pairs. Any volunteers before I just cold call? No volunteers? In a room full of entrepreneurs, you're not dying to try something? Really? Okay. I haven't heard from this side of the room very much, so I don't know names, but these 3 lovely candidates up front, I'd love to hear what you think. Let's start with the first question. Let's break it down. What problem do you think I'm trying to solve as a female working, a young professional working at a startup?
I think you're trying to make sure you stay hydrated during the day.
Okay.
And you want like a nice, like portable option for that.
Yeah.
Something that keeps your water cold or hot or beverage warm.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. Okay. And then I guess this side of the room, over in this corner, what solution are you selling to me as someone who needs hydration, as someone who's on the go?
Like the a mobile transport of water that like won't spill and you won't really have to like get up out of your seat to go get water. You can have it on the go.
I like the won't spill. Why is that important to me as a user?
So you're not making a mess.
Oh, and why would it be important for me to not make a mess on the go? Anyone can answer. Yeah, I just want to, because we're drilling down to why Owala did what they did.
It's more convenient to have water that isn't going to get everywhere.
Yes, but why? Young professional, on the go, I don't want my water spill, why? Okay, why, but why would it be a waste of time? What is the function of this not water spilling part?
Doesn't spill on your clothes.
Yes, I don't want to change. I'm on the go. I don't want to have to stop in a bathroom, buy new clothes. More importantly, I'm about to go to a C-suite executive meeting. I don't want to look like a mess, right? So Awala's mission is to do more of what you love. I get to do more of what I love by buying Awala, right? Because I don't have to think about this factor of, did I spill something on myself? Is my where is water? Am I hydrated? Am I gonna pass out from dehydration? Okay, this is the hardest question, which is what experiment would you have run to figure out this problem statement and to have created this product on someone like me? Sam, you want to answer?
We discussed a social media campaign.
Okay, what kind of campaign are we doing? Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, huh?
Instagram?
Oh, okay. What kind of, am I seeing an ad? Am I gonna get targeted, like, what is the UGC thing these days?
Targeted ads?
Oh, okay, okay. About Awala.
Yeah,
Just the product, it's just the product picture.
exactly.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes.
We want to add on to that and say TikTok. So recently there have been a lot of influencers, like content creators that also work in the startup industry. So I feel like if people like yourself see them using it like day to day through like paid partnerships from Awala, you might be more inclined to do more of what you love and buy the Awala. So our idea would be like a TikTok specific campaign for those content creators.
Okay, I am a dinosaur, I'm not on TikTok, now what? Now where do we go? 25-year-old doesn't have TikTok.
Facebook.
Facebook, okay.
I'll go to like business conferences or
Oh, I like this. Okay, let's run with that.
or
Okay,
like
I'm at a business conference. I see you what? A table?
yeah, like I'm sure they give out a lot of free stuff. And part of that would be like an Awala.
Oh, okay.
And I would think like you gotta get them like before they become a 25-year-old, like working at a startup. So maybe at like college campuses.
Oh, so you want to start them early on this product?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually really like that thinking. Is that financially sustainable to give out that many free Awalas? How many are we giving out in a year?
I would go to big business conferences.
Oh, okay.
And
Conferences
give out-
specifically.
Yeah, give out 1,000. I think that's not bad.
1,000 a year?
A year? No, I was thinking like once every 3 months or so.
Okay, I love it. Thank you for playing into this exercise. But you can kind of see why these questions are really important, right? It's actually really hard to get to a problem statement that makes sense, and then a solution that actually fits that problem statement, and then also like figuring out how you're gonna run that experiment of like, did I make the right solution for the right problem statement is an entirely different issue. So to make it more tangible for your teams, I'm gonna end on a strategic framework that we're using at Vega, that we use at McKinsey, that I've used in so many different client settings. Just rocks, pebbles, and sand. Who doesn't love some sand? But basically, it's this idea that the best experiments are actually those that are the best prioritized. So as a team, when you start thinking about, okay, like what experiments should we run first? Do we do TikTok? Do we do Instagram, Facebook, business conferences, space? I don't know. You actually have to ask yourself, okay, what are our big rocks as a company? Like, what must we absolutely know today so that we can exist tomorrow? The second bucket is this like pebbles or gravel, which is, okay, what are some like nice to haves? What would be nice to be able to know today so that we can exist like 3 months from now? And then finally, it's the sand, which is like all the other noise, all the other things that, yeah, as a team we care about. It'd be kind of cool if like, I don't know, who's a famous athlete these days? I don't even know any. Some Duke basketball player was like, yeah, let's go get a partnership with them so we can sell a wallet to Joanne, except Joanne doesn't watch basketball, so that would be kind of a moot point. And then finally, of course, make sure you have fun as you think about your strategy. But I really urge you to actually take this exercise back with your teams or even yourself and ask yourself, like, what do I absolutely need to solve for today to be here tomorrow? What do I absolutely need to start to solve for to be here 3 months from now? And then what are some things that are just creating noise for us and distracting us? So to conclude, again, culture and strategy equals growth. But really, what's missing here is probably your passion and your purpose. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah, we have some free-form questions unless you guys want to jump in.
Yes.
Was there actually a specific thing that Awala did? Because I feel like I was just wondering if there was like a.
So Awala actually did target my demographic specifically, which I thought was interesting. Not startup specific, but young professionals, young women professionals, and they actually told narratives like what can you do more of with this Awala. So the exercise that I just ran through, which is like, oh, you literally don't have to waste time, was actually very, very effective from a storytelling perspective. I don't know about business conferences, I cannot deny nor confirm, but they did use social media as a way to tell a narrative. So a lot of influencers use their Awala as a way to tell a story around why it was such an impactful thing to have, basically. And I did buy into that. I do have 2 Awalas, and I actually asked my brother for one for Christmas. So you can kind of see that the marketing worked. That's a very effective experiment. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much you've worked with medical products and startups and then also apps. So how would you think is the best way to promote your own physical product or app that you have? Do you think it's a social media route or is there another route? Also for more expensive products, how would you really promote that? Because I feel as you mentioned before, Awalas, kind of handing them out would not be feasible for a company, especially if it's a huge product physically, or if it's really expensive, a couple hundred. So what would you think is the best market?
Yeah, that's a really complicated question because it is oftentimes very product specific, I think. But so Awala is kind of easy and not okay. I don't want to say easy. They worked really hard. This team is incredible. But it's what we call B2C, right? It's business to consumer. You're selling a product that usually has very low entry to purchase, to convince someone to purchase, right? B2B, which is what Brandon is talking about, is you're actually selling to an organization, typically, particularly in healthcare, it's usually enterprise sales, right? And that's a very complicated matter. If you're doing a patient-facing application, let's say, for example, let's say someone here built this novel, I don't know, telehealth app, right? Your patient gets to interact with the doctor 24/7, something like that. I think that actually requires a lot more focused experiments. So you would want to find a specific patient population that you want to target first, right? So, for example, when I think about people who have really difficulty accessing healthcare, it's actually people in rural areas, maybe suburbs because they have some internet access, but it's really hard to get to a hospital. Maybe where there's primary care shortages, which is most of America now, unfortunately. But it's thinking through what is a specific target population that I want to serve first as my experiment. And I think, again, that's typically more the B2C route is you pick a demographic, you test it, you continue iterating. The B2B route, which is the world I'm living in right now, is super long sales cycles. It took us, I think, the whole first 6 months of our company existing to lock down 2 contracts, which is a very, very long time. But the way we did it, and I think how most enterprise sales actually works is, 1, relationship building, come to your clients with good intentions. But 2, it's also just being super spiffy about what it is you're selling. These people do not have time. They are executives. They're not just executives. They're usually executives and clinicians who are trying to serve patients and their people. So knowing those trade-offs that they're making with their time, we actually only approach our sales from a relationship building aspect. We never sell a solution. We only provide a solution to a problem that they share. But I think, Brandon, I'd have to know the product, basically, to give more specific advice, probably. Yeah.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
So a lot of companies here, I'd say, have nearly no money to maybe a couple thousand. How would you think is the best way to really build those funding? Because I think a lot of us are moving towards pitch competitions, maybe looking into grants. But what do you think is the most effective way to look for funding, especially if you're starting from the lowest possible?
Yeah. I think it's always going to be a question. Financial viability is always a question for every company. Even the greatest giants, I think about financial health all the time. I think at this stage, so there's 2 routes most people go, right? It's bootstrapping, which is you just take what you have with what you got, you just sell. You sell, you test, you sell, you test, you pilot, you offer things for free, you ask your family and friends for money, you bootstrap your way through. And there's a ton of successful entrepreneurs who have done that multiple times over. And actually, the pro of that is you're never tied to anybody. You never answer to anyone except yourself. The con, obviously, is that it takes a lot longer to scale, especially because, you know, the greatest risk is also yourself. The other route is to be VC backed, so venture capital backed, right? I'm happy to go into fundraising separately in side conversations, but essentially the best way to do that is a pitch competition, which automatically sort of puts you on the radar of different investors. The second thing that we actually do is we go to spaces where investors are. So our CEO regularly goes to conferences, or he'll go to local events even where those investors are, and he essentially is just like, let me just have a conversation with you. Like, this is a problem I'm solving. Here's like the proof point of why I think this will work. Like, I really think that this is worth your time. And I think getting down to a point where you feel comfortable, right, talking about your story. And I would not even think of it as like you're a salesperson. You're actually your greatest advocate for the product you believe in. That's two. And then the third is, I've seen it happen less and less now, but it's honestly to cold email investors. One of my really close friends, he's in a biotech company. He's just started, but he actually cold emailed an investor and just got VC backed, and it worked out. They just happened to have the right portfolio. They were looking for the exact thing he was building. He knew his market super well. He had the right team structure. Team structure matters so much for VC funds. So that's one way to think about it. Grants, I am not an expert in. I feel like grants are like a whole different animal. It's oftentimes, I think, tied to like specific milestones, specific deliverables within a very specific time constraint, which VC, yes and no, but depending on your investor, it's a lot less constrained. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Joanne, for coming here. I want to say just three things. One, to recap what I learned. I don't know what you guys learned, but it takes a lot of mission to build a really good organization. Whether it's just an organization at school or an actual company, it takes a lot of mission. There's this guy named Simon Sinek. You guys know him? He wrote a book called It Begins With Why. Do you guys know who that is? Yes, you do?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's a big thought leader in this space, and he's one of the first people who came out and said, I think the X factor for a successful company isn't a good product, but it's a really good mission. And so he goes and dives into all these missions of these great companies. So that's what I think we learned today. Second, just from the question and answering, I think what I got from that is, you know, medicine is extremely heterogeneous, and so there is this area of like, is it wellness, is it retail, is it clinical? And so, like Joanne was saying, being really specific with your product and finding exactly how to distribute it then to fundraise is really important. Finally, for those who want to get involved with Ruling, you found this really interesting. So some people have already been a part of Ruling for some time. Other people like find this really interesting. You didn't ever think about this as a part of your life. Of course, you had crazy ideas, but you didn't know if you should chase them. Ruling is going to be a continuous organization. We'll have some different leaders later on, but we'll have the Ruling Scholars in fall of this year. So you can sign up and be a part of the cohort. I don't know, there's some Ruling Scholars here. I'm sure you got something out of it. So you can do that, or we'll continue to have these lectures, so just attend, see what you think. What I will say is medicine is changing. So a lot of times, you know, part of you is like, well, I gotta be practical or pragmatic, or I wanna be a normal person or something, I don't know. But the thing is, even in research, we're seeing a lot of shifts towards entrepreneurship because a lot of the money came from the government. And as we've seen these past, 12 years, the government changes quite a bit and its personality changes quite a bit. So the medicine is moving towards entrepreneurship with the advent of generative AI. That's even more so. We're looking for innovators, not just people to practice medicine. So really be a part of Ruling. This is like the vision of the school and everything. But anyway, let's clap for Joanne. This Panda Express.
Yes, crazy.
Pretty guys.